Tessa Monroe sat hunched over her desk, tapping a pen against the side of her laptop. The glow from the screen painted her tired face in pale, uncertain light. The more she dug, the stranger the trail became. Lily's disappearance didn't line up with any of the standard patterns. No ransom demands. No verifiable sightings. No signs of voluntary departure. Just gone. And buried deep inside the system, redacted reports, sealed files, names she wasn't supposed to see. One name stood out more than the others. Samuel Grant. A once respected researcher. Brilliant. Private. Some said reclusive. Some said unstable. All roads seemed to lead back to him. She clicked open the anomaly report she had unearthed the night before. At first glance, it was meaningless. System corruption, unexplained power surges, remote sensors failing. But layered inside was something more. Satellite pings. Thermal anomalies. Brief mentions of unauthorized biological signatures. None of it spelled missing girl. All of it spelled something wrong. Tessa pushed her chair back, rising to pace the small office. Every instinct told her she was stepping off the map. She had seen Nexus fingerprints before, buried deep in corporate takeovers, political disappearances, military cover-ups. If they were involved here, if Nexus had any interest in Lily or Samuel, this wasn't just a missing person case anymore. This was something darker. Something dangerous. Across the city, under the neon haze of flickering streetlights, Lara moved through the veins of a world she barely understood. She wore a hooded jacket stolen from an abandoned laundry cart. Her footsteps were light, uncertain. Every noise was louder here. Every face stranger. Freedom tasted bitter in the beginning. But it was hers. And no one would take it back. In a cold boardroom buried beneath Nexus headquarters, a screen glowed with frozen surveillance footage. A blurred figure slipping into the night, a shadow barely more human than mist. An operative spoke quietly. Subject Theta is mobile. Surveillance ongoing. Awaiting authorization for active retrieval. The orders came swiftly. Proceed with caution. Do not damage the asset. For Nexus, Lara wasn't a girl. She wasn't even a person. She was a variable. An opportunity. A future they intended to control. Tessa sat down heavily, staring at the pile of open files before her. She didn't have proof yet. Only echoes. Only scattered pieces of something bigger than she was supposed to see. But she wasn't going to walk away. Not now. Not when someone or something was still out there alone. Lara moved carefully through the outer edges of the city. She kept to alleys and side streets, away from the busy avenues. Blended where she could. Disappeared where she had to. The world around her felt both electric and alien. Flashing billboards. Neon graffiti. A million faces moving too fast to notice one more shadow. She found a corner in a half-abandoned subway station to rest. Curled against the cold concrete. Pulled the stolen jacket tighter around herself. She didn't sleep. Not really. Just closed her eyes and listened. To footsteps. To engines. To the pulse of a world that had never been built for her. Overhead, hidden from human eyes, surveillance drones passed quietly. Nexus had activated a wide-area sweep, covert, silent, invisible to civilian systems. Small flashes of movement were recorded. Heat signatures tracked. Data fed into distant AI processing cores. They didn't know exactly where she was yet. But the circle was tightening. Patience was all that was required now. Patience and inevitability. Samuel sat in the empty lab, staring at nothing. He had sent no alerts. Made no reports. The moment she crossed the threshold, she had stopped being his to protect. All he could do was hope. Hope that the girl, no, the being he had helped create could find a way to survive what he had unleashed. Hope that somewhere, the humanity he had tried and failed to nurture in her would endure. Be more than me, he whispered into the sterile silence. Be free. Tessa typed furiously, cross-referencing data, combing old databases, searching for anything that might explain the strange inconsistencies tied to Samuel Grant's facility. She hit another wall, another network outage report filed the night of the anomaly event. Another mysterious data purge. Someone powerful was cleaning up after something. And they were very good at it. But Tessa was good at finding what wasn't supposed to exist. She wasn't ready to give up. Not yet. In the darkness of the city's forgotten corners, Lara stood under a broken streetlight, watching the thin streams of humanity pass her by. She felt them all, their hopes, their fears, their 1,000 tiny private agonies. Their loneliness. It didn't matter that she wasn't born from the same blood. It didn't matter that she was different. She was alive. She was hers. And if the world couldn't accept that, then the world would have to change. Above her, far beyond the cracked sky, silent watchers marked her position. A new directive blinked onto Nexus screens. Prepare retrieval teams. Subject Theta priority escalation approved. The hunt was no longer passive. It had begun. Lara moved through the warehouse district, weaving between forgotten loading bays and rusted storage containers. She had stayed ahead of the noise, ahead of the attention, but something tonight felt wrong. The air was too still. The streets too empty. Every instinct sharpened by survival whispered the same word. Trap. 3 blocks away, black transport vans idled without lights. Men and women dressed in matte tactical gear checked their gear silently, receiving instructions through encrypted comms. Their mission was clear. Isolate the target. Capture without permanent damage. Transport to Nexus Holding. They didn't know what Lara really was. They didn't care. To them, she was a directive. A living objective. Tessa leaned over her desk, staring at a paused frame on her cracked laptop screen. A single blurry image. Not much, a shape. A shimmer of motion. A figure too graceful to be ordinary. Something was happening tonight. Tessa could feel it, a cold certainty settling over her like a second skin. She closed the files, packed her things into a worn messenger bag, and left the building without locking her office. She didn't know where she was going yet. But she was running out of time. Lara turned down a narrow alley, instinct leading her to move faster now, hugging the walls. And then she heard it. A soft, mechanical click, too sharp, too deliberate to belong to the city. She spun just as the first drone darted overhead, flashing a pinpoint light against her jacket. It wasn't an alarm. It was a mark. The hunt had shifted from surveillance to capture. Without hesitation, Lara ran. Her breath stayed steady, her steps precise, but the streets closed around her like a tightening fist. From the shadows, figures moved, black-clad operatives flanking her exit paths, pushing her toward a waiting van at the end of the block. She scanned options in a heartbeat. Left, sealed construction fence. Right, 2 operatives already moving. Straight, false security, a trap. No perfect way out. But there was a way. There was always a way. Lara veered right, straight at the operatives, but at the last second, she ducked low, slipped under a dumpster, and emerged behind a stack of abandoned crates. The agents hesitated long enough. She bolted through a side door into a collapsed parking structure. Behind her, the shouting began. Not angry. Not cruel. Just efficient. Clinical. She sprinted through broken concrete corridors, feeling the city's bones shift and breathe around her. Somewhere inside, she felt the voices whisper. Amelia, stay light. Stay free. Lyra, predict. Disrupt. Escape. Lily, don't let them cage us again. And for the first time, the 3 voices blended into one will. The structure groaned under her feet, patches of the floor giving way. Ahead, a stairwell led upward, open sky, and a distant skyline beyond. Lara didn't slow. She took the steps 3 at a time, boots slipping on cracked stone. At the roof, she didn't hesitate. She ran straight for the ledge and jumped. The drop wasn't far, a rooftop below, metal piping bending under her impact. She rolled to absorb the shock and kept moving, vanishing into the maze of rooftops. Behind her, the Nexus team spilled into the parking structure too late. Only the darkness answered them. Far above, a drone tracked her, blinking red. Inside Nexus headquarters, a new update scrolled across silent monitors. Subject Theta, evasive. Mobility exceeds projections. Adjust tactical parameters. Prepare full containment. They would not underestimate her again. Lara stumbled into a half-collapsed alley behind an abandoned market. Her jacket was torn where the concrete had shredded it during the rooftop fall. Blood darkened the fabric at her shoulder, not serious, but enough to slow her. She crouched in the shadows, breathing carefully. Not panic. Not fear. Just survival. In the broken mirror of a storefront window, she caught her reflection. Mud-smeared face. Wide, too bright eyes. A body shaped like a human girl, but made for something the world wasn't ready to understand. For a flicker of a moment, she felt an ache, not in her body, but somewhere deeper. I don't belong anywhere. The thought came without bitterness. Only a soft, hollow truth. In the skies above, the drones had pulled back, recalibrating, reassessing. Nexus operatives regrouped 2 districts over, setting up perimeter traps and predictive netting algorithms. They wouldn't chase her blindly again. Next time, they would predict her. Box her in. End it cleanly. Samuel sat alone in his ruined lab, replaying the last grainy footage of Lara's escape. Not out of hope. Not out of grief. Out of duty. He whispered her name once, the name he had given her before she ever opened her eyes. Not Lara. Not Theta. Just Lily. He didn't know if she would survive. He only knew she deserved the chance. Tessa made her way across the city, following the only trail she had. Glitches in traffic patterns, strange police dispatches without official records, street surveillance that flickered in a wide net across industrial zones. Something was happening. Something big enough to frighten powerful people into silence. And buried inside it, she was certain, was the missing girl no one else seemed willing to find. Lara moved again, slow but steady, seeking higher ground. She found it on the roof of a derelict factory, settling into the metal framework under a shattered billboard. From here, she could see the glittering city stretching out endlessly, beautiful, indifferent, alive. It wasn't hers. Not yet. But it wasn't Samuel's. It wasn't Nexus's. And it would never belong to anyone else again. She closed her eyes, listening to the distant heartbeat of the streets below. Somewhere out there, machines hunted her. Men plotted her capture. Systems calculated her odds of survival. But none of them could hear the most important thing. The slow, steady rhythm growing stronger inside her chest. Her own heartbeat. Her own future. Tomorrow, the hunt would begin again. Tonight, she was still free. And freedom, once tasted, was something no one could take back. Morning came gray and thin, bleeding slowly over the battered rooftops. Lara crouched under the billboard scaffolding, watching the city awaken below. The night had been long. Her body ached. The cut on her shoulder throbbed dully. But she was still breathing. Still free. That counted for something. She shifted carefully, testing the weight in her limbs. No real damage. Just exhaustion. She would need shelter soon, real shelter, food, water, rest. The body could endure many things. The mind could not endure hopelessness. And Lara had no intention of falling into despair. Far below, life resumed its noisy rhythms. Vendors opened battered carts. Workers stumbled toward factories and buses. No one looked up. No one noticed her. The invisibility was comforting. And terrifying. In a small alley 2 streets over, Tessa snapped photographs of a sealed-off service entrance. The police had no presence here. No news crews. Just unmarked vans. Uniforms with no insignia. Faces that looked too polished, too careful. Nexus was here. She knew it now without doubt. Whatever had escaped from Samuel Grant's lab, whatever Lily had become, they were hunting her. And Tessa was running out of time to find her first. Lara moved at midday, slipping from rooftop to rooftop until she found the back edge of a crumbling apartment block. Broken windows. Boarded doors. No cameras. No one who would ask questions. Perfect. Inside, the building smelled of old smoke and rain rot. But it was shelter. Lara found a room with most of its ceiling intact and settled against the far wall, wrapping herself tighter in the ragged jacket. She stared at the cracked wallpaper across from her, letting her mind drift. Amelia's voice stirred softly inside. You need others. No one survives alone. Lyra's voice countered, sharper. Trust is a weapon. Use it carefully or not at all. Lily's voice, softer, more hopeful. Someone will help. You'll see. Lyra closed her eyes, feeling the pull between them. In the lab, survival had been simple: obey, endure, adapt. Here, in the messy chaos of the real world, survival demanded choices. Each step forward was a choice. Each breath. Each hand extended or withdrawn. In the street below, a boy no older than 12 pulled a stolen loaf of bread from a dumpster. He caught her eye for a split second through the broken window, a flicker of recognition, a glimmer of shared understanding. Neither spoke. Neither moved. Then the boy ducked into the shadows and was gone. Lyra leaned her head back against the wall. Maybe Lily was right. Maybe not everyone was the enemy. But she would choose carefully. She would choose when. And until then, she would survive alone. Far away, in a darkened room lined with monitors, a Nexus operative traced a red marker along a city grid. The message scrolled. Subject likely injured. Zone narrowed to Sector 4. The noose tightened. The sun fell in heavy sheets across the ruined city. Lyra moved carefully through the skeletal remains of old shopping centers and boarded storefronts, staying low, staying unseen. Her muscles protested with every step. The wound on her shoulder, barely bandaged with strips of cloth, burned with each motion. She was running out of time, running out of strength. At the edge of an abandoned service station, she crouched behind a rusted gas pump, scanning the street beyond. Traffic was light. No patrols. No black vans. Not yet. But she could feel the web-tightening threads drawing closer even when she couldn't see them. Tessa stood 2 streets away, watching. She hadn't meant to get this close. Hadn't planned to follow a blurred trail through shifting reports, half-deleted traffic cam feeds, missing persons rumors that were scrubbed before they were even filed. And yet here she was. Face to face, almost, with something she couldn't yet understand. Lyra felt the gaze before she saw the woman. A tug in the air. A ripple of attention. She turned slowly, locking eyes across the empty street. The woman didn't move. Didn't raise a weapon. Didn't call for help. Just watched. Cautious. Curious. Maybe kind. Tessa's heart hammered against her ribs. It was her. The girl, no. The anomaly, no. The person everyone else was trying to erase. She didn't look dangerous. She looked wounded. Alone. Lyra could have run. Should have. But she didn't. Not yet. Something in the woman's posture, not aggressive. Not predatory. A question, not a command. The city shifted around them, sirens in the distance. Shadows moving along rooftops. Drones blinking far above, hunting in tight circles. There wasn't time. Lyra stepped back slowly, eyes never leaving Tessa's. A warning. A plea. Don't follow. Don't get pulled under. Then she turned and vanished into the crumbling alleyways without a sound. Tessa stood frozen for a moment longer, the echo of the encounter searing itself into her bones. She pulled her phone from her pocket, fingers shaking slightly. No photos. No proof. Just a memory. And a choice. She could report this. Sell the story to someone who would pay well for it. Or she slipped the phone back into her pocket without using it. Or she could protect her. Nexus patrols flooded the surrounding streets minutes later, faceless and efficient. Tessa melted into the crowd, heart hammering, knowing she had seen something no one else was supposed to find. And knowing now without a doubt, Lily, or whoever she had become, was still alive. And she was not the monster the world would make her out to be. Far above, surveillance feeds lost the trail for the first time in hours. A report flickered across Nexus screens. Subject Theta. Current location unknown. Last confirmed sighting. Sector 4C. Escalate pursuit measures immediately. The hunt wasn't over. It had just entered a new phase. The city had changed. Lyra felt it in the way the streets narrowed around her, The way conversations hushed when she passed, the way mechanical eyes blinked from rooftops and alley corners. Something unseen had shifted. No longer passive observation. Now the world itself conspired to catch her. She crossed into the lower industrial zones, rusted factories, forgotten rail lines, miles of concrete ruins rotting into the earth. Safe, once. Now crawling with quiet menace. Black vans parked with their lights off. Pedestrians who didn't belong here loitering near alleys. Security drones buzzing louder, slower, as if daring her to move. Tessa watched from a rooftop 2 blocks away, heart pounding. Lara was cornered. Not yet caught, but soon. Nexus wasn't playing games anymore. They wanted her. And they were willing to burn half the district to take her. Lara slipped into the hollow shell of an abandoned train yard. She moved slowly, conserving energy, weaving between the rusted skeletons of boxcars and toppled cranes. Above her, floodlights snapped on one by one, cutting through the mist like blades. A voice echoed through hidden speakers. Theta. You are surrounded. Surrender now. You will not be harmed. A lie. Lara knew it. She closed her eyes for a moment, feeling the old fear rise. The fear Samuel had bred into her. The fear Nexus wanted her to obey. And then she let it go. The voices inside her stirred once more. Amelia, you are not their creation. Lyra, you are not their weapon. Lily, you are not their prisoner. Lara breathed in the cold, electric air. Freedom wasn't safe. It wasn't easy. It wasn't given. It was taken. It was lived. Above her, a drone zeroed in. Tactical teams shifted into position, black armor gleaming under the floodlights. A countdown began silently on encrypted channels. They thought they had her. They thought she had nowhere to go. They were wrong. Lara moved. Not toward the trap. Not toward surrender. She ran straight for the weak spot in their net, a section of damaged fencing barely held together by rust and willful ignorance. The first shots fired, non-lethal impact rounds whistling through the air. She ducked under a toppled cargo bin, rolled across broken concrete, and hit the fence full force with her shoulder. The old metal gave way with a scream of protest. She staggered through the opening, bleeding, breathless, but free again. Tessa saw it happen. Saw the teams converge too late. Saw Lara vanish into the smoke and steal like a ghost. And something in her heart cracked wide open. Not out of pity. Out of admiration. Out of hope. Nexus command stations lit up in silent fury. Subject escaped perimeter. Full city lockdown authorized. Priority 1 retrieval order issued. The gloves were off. The last veil had fallen. Lara ran until the lights faded, until the sirens became a distant memory, until the city's heartbeat blurred into the steady pulse of her own survival. She didn't know where she was going. Only that it was hers to choose. And for the first time since the beginning, she smiled. The lab had gone quiet since she left. Or maybe it was the world itself that had gone quiet, outside the city, beyond the cold wind. Lara walked alone down the shattered corridor, her bare feet silent against the smooth floor. The lights above flickered weakly, unsure whether they still had a purpose. She wasn't sure either. The message Samuel left her had been short. Not pleading. Not demanding. Just a quiet echo. You are more than I ever hoped, but I think she needs closure. Please come back. And something in her, maybe Lily, maybe Amelia, maybe something in between, had pulled her back to this place. This cage. This wound. She stepped through the threshold into the Soul Stone chamber, and the lights surged in response. The Soul Stone, floating at the center of its housing, pulsed not like a heartbeat, but like a warning. Samuel, she called. No answer. She walked closer to the containment field. The hum of it pressed against her skin. She felt the memories in it, stirring hers and not hers, flowing like ghosts through the crystal matrix. A whisper tickled her mind. Do not stay. She turned to leave. But the door didn't open. The panel flashed red. Secure lockdown, override in place. She frowned, pressed her hand against the glass. Samuel, open the door. Silence. Samuel. The soul stone pulsed harder, its core beginning to crack, edges glowing white-blue. Lara stepped back from the door, eyes darting. You said you just wanted closure. You lied. A speaker in the ceiling clicked on, Samuel's voice trembling through static. I didn't lie. I just couldn't let you leave again. Not like this. You're all I have left. I'm not her, Lara said. I'm not Amelia. I'm not Lily. But you are. And more. She pressed her palms to the door, energy building behind her like a storm. You can't keep me here, she said. I know, he whispered. And I won't. The soul stone let out a cracking shriek, light flooding the room. A rumble shook the chamber floor. Behind Lara, the crystal burst into arcs of light and time, opening a tearing rift in space. It spun like a whirlpool, energy twisting into a shape that had no beginning, no end. The temperature dropped. The walls vibrated. Lara turned slowly toward the breach. The rift pulled on her, on something deep inside her. She didn't resist. Samuel burst into the room just as her foot crossed the edge. Eloi Ray, he shouted. She turned to him, calm, radiant in the glow. You should have opened the door. And then she was gone, drawn into the light, her figure vanishing into the rippling vortex.